Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. Hi, my name is Crystal Lee. I'm the creator of this channel and welcome welcome back. It's like every single time I start talking, I never know my intro. But if you're new here, hi. If you are not new here, it's good. Thank you for coming back. Ugh, you're addicted now. I'm the drug that Dare warned you about. I don't know what to tell you. But if you are new here, we do 3 videos per week, or at least we try to. On Mondays, we do Moody Mondays, where you'll never know what video you'll get, but you'll always get a video, and it's always a mood. On Wednesdays, we do What We Reading Wednesdays, when we explore our love of reading and storytelling and story reading and overanalyzing things that we said. You know how like your reading teacher, English teacher was just like, the drapes were blue and they represent the man's soul. That's what we do here on this channel. The drapes were blue and it represents the man's soul. They weren't just blue. And on Fridays, we do Van Life Fridays, where I vlog about my alternative lifestyle in my 91 Chevrolet G. Ooh, that's a man. Ew. My 91 Chevrolet G20 van named Ben. This is Ben. Everyone say hi to Ben. Ben, say hi. Shut up. If any of that seems fun to you or interesting, please come back on those days, see what's up. Subscribe now because you're gonna want to subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, you're a hater. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But whether you subscribe or not, you will see my face somewhere, somehow. I don't have to tell you. It is what it is. For every one book I finish, I add 5 more to my TBR. There's just so many good books to read. For today's video, it is a Wednesday and we're doing What We Reading Wednesday video, and we're starting out with something really, really exciting because a month ago I signed up for a book event with the library that I like here. It's the Wallingford Library in Connecticut. And they had an event where you get to meet the author of a book called The Wedding People. And the author's name is, I think, Alison Espach. Oh, 333 on his license plate. Okay. Well, you hit the curb. Bye. Oh, God, American flag. On to bigger and better things. Okay. Where is the thing? Okay. So, I don't know if it's Espach or Espach. But she is the author of The Wedding People, a book that I read last year and I really, really loved. I think I rated it 5 stars. Hold on, let me go into my Goodreads. And while I go into my Goodreads, here's my Goodreads. Follow me. Wedding People. I rated it 4 stars. Did I do a review? No, I didn't do a review because I just did not do it. Dang it. Okay, anyway, I rated it 4 stars, but I really did love it as a book. And I never actually met an author in an event like this, and I really wanted to. So a month ago, I got on their waiting list. And then a few days ago, somebody left the event and I was moved from the waiting list to the actual event. And so I changed my plans. I had no plans to do this event. We're currently parked outside of Planet Fitness because I want to get ready for it. I started doing this thing for my Instagram, The Librarian. You should follow that too. Follow me everywhere. I tell you. If it's not here, it will be somewhere you'll see me and find me. On Instagram, I have The Librarian because I love doing looks and I love books. So I started this series of a book look, doing a makeup look inspired by a book that I read that I really liked, or maybe even didn't like. Right now, there have been books I've just liked. I've only did 3. No, I've only did 2. This would be 3. And I decided to do a book look for this book because of the event and like just start a vlog or like have a vlog with it. So it's at 7. It's currently 5:30. It's currently 5:17. I'm hoping it'll take me like an hour to do the look and I can just chill and take pictures and videos and make my way over there. It's not at the library, it's at a middle school, and I'd rather not park my van at a middle school for as long as it takes me to do the look because it's weird. It's weird. So we're going to go to the back of our van and get ready, and I'm really excited. I'm like really excited for this look and the dress that I have, simply because I love the dress. I love the dress so much and I haven't worn it in so long. Oh, God. I think I'm going to pull some inspiration from the champagne bottle, and champagne bottles are usually green. So I think I'm going to do a green and gold look. It might also go a little bit with the dress that I have. I think there's a bit of green in the dress. There's also some browns, yellows, and I think blues in the dress as well. I've added a lot of colors to this dress. It might not even be that much. That's what I'm doing, and I really love my hair being up like this and this being like this. So I might keep it this way. So we're gonna go to the back of the van and get ready because it's a van, but it's also my home. and you can see it on Van Life Fridays. I told you this. Transition. I yelled transition, but I spent 10 minutes scrolling. Also, something that I like to do when I'm doing a book look is do a transition for my Baddie in a Van page and my other like fun social media, which is just like my regular social media, which is Crystalise Chance, and just my YouTube in general. Like all my short form content goes on my YouTube channel unbiasedly. And so I like to do a transition for that. Oh, also I have a Crystal Lee Does a Look page as well. I'm realizing I have a lot of different social medias for different things. But the reason for that is because I do so much. And I can take one piece of content and stretch it for like 4 of my social medias. And I really love that. So when I do a look, I like to do a transition too, like a really fun makeup transition. So I have to find one of those real quick. I should have been using that 10 minutes to do that, but now I didn't. Oh, I got a voice. Okay. We're focusing. We have an hour and 20 minutes. The look I have is it's gonna be actually very simple. So no design, just a color combination, which like I said, green and gold. Which is funny too because rereading the description of like the plot, the description of the book or whatever, her dress that she goes to the hotel with, is green and gold. Well, is green with gold heels. So green and gold is still an actual theme. And it's really funny that I thought about green and gold for a champagne bottle, but that's her dress in general. It's been a while since I read the book. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to quickly look and give myself 5 minutes to find a makeup transition. Like just the song. Like not even because I can just take a song and figure out a transition on my own because I'm like really good at that. Let me actually just look at the sounds that I've saved for times like this. No. Transition. Okay. Also, it's going to take longer to do this look because I got to talk through it, so I should probably start now. Get ready with me to meet the author of The Wedding People, Alison Espach, and let's talk about the book just a little bit. We start off with one of our female main characters, Phoebe. All right, we're all changed, and I think we may be late, but I'm not really sure. Directions, 10 minutes. Okay. So, I like this look, though. I stand here waiting for you to bring the song. It's really funny doing my makeup in a rush in the van because, you know, if you're at home and you have like an actual physical home, you'll leave your vanity a mess. Something's a mess. I'll tell you that. Something is a mess back there. It's not a vanity, but it's everywhere. Just so you know, this is the outfit. All right, we're late. Let's go inside. Hi. I'm also taking a little video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna sign the book?
I am. Are you for the author? I thought you were for those two specifically. That's cute.
The goal of One Book, One Wallingford is to bring our community together to read and discuss the themes in one book. Sharing our experience reading a book with one another allows us to connect.
I've been just talking exclusively to a baby for 5 months, and now I'm talking to a town. It's very jarring. I'm not just alone in my room anymore, right? And so I don't know what effect the book has on readers. I've heard, you know, from messages here and there, you know, why people sort of connected with Phoebe, and that has always meant a great deal to me when someone sort of connects with the protagonist.
It's over. It's done. It was so cool. Didn't buy a book. I never intended to buy a book or get a book signed because I am trying to get rid of the books that I have in my van. The ones that I want to keep are the ones that were gifted to me. It would be nice to have a signed copy and add it to my book collection, but I didn't need it. I really liked sitting and listening to an author talk about the book that I read because then you really get to see, like, you really get to see how sometimes the curtains are just blue. And I don't mean that in like a bad way. I mean that in like it was a story. Sometimes it's for entertainment, and it's really nice when the reader can get something out of that story. But sometimes a writer just wants to write, and they're being creative. Like, a creative's job is just to be creative, and what they create will help someone else on their journey with their perspective, their eyes, like their past. And it was really cool to kind of see that live in action. There were times where Miss Alison Espach talked about some of why she wrote things, but at the end of the day, she wrote things because she wanted to write things. And it was a really nice story. It was very entertaining. And I really liked meeting her as well. So I think that I want to do this more often. I didn't know this, but she is a Connecticut, she's a Connecticut native. Like, if I just read anything that anyone gave me at any point, I probably would have known this, but I did not know that. And it was really nice, like, learning that. What else? I didn't ask a question. I opted out of that option. But I don't think there would have been time for my question. But if I were to have if I did ask her a question, I think it would be around her identity as a creative and creating this big project that she put off for years. She came back to, put off for another year or two, and then came back to. And then now it's this book that has sold millions of copies. She's been on TV. It's something that so many people have read. She's been on, like, all these, like, press stuff, and she didn't think she would. I don't believe that anyone thinks that their creativity can lead them to something like that. I'm obviously projecting here again. But if I were to have asked her a question, I would have asked, like, as a creative, like, how does it feel to have something that you just got out to turn into something so big? And obviously they probably would have said, or she would have said, and obviously she would have said, like, oh, I feel honored, I feel surprised, all this and that. But, like, you're a breath of fresh air for getting the story out and feeling relieved of the story that is finally out. And people see it so many different ways. Like, how does that feel for you? I honestly think the bigger question here is the idea of being seen. Going back to, like, her talking about how, like, literally sometimes the curtains are just blue. Like, some of the questions were so much deeper than she thought about with that question topic. She was like, I just came up with a name. It's just the name of the cat. I like this person. I like that person. I didn't mean for them to be hot. I just described a person, and I wanted to describe that person. And so she did that. And so I would have just asked, I lost my thought. But altogether, it was good. It was a very great experience. It is 8 o'clock. Everything around Connecticut closes so early. Ooh, besides the McDonald's. We're going to go to McDonald's and read. I'm finishing the second book in the Six of Crows duology. We have not much left. And, like, shit has hit a fan already. Shit has hit a fan, and we're in the middle of the fucking book. Basically, it's about a ragtag team of thieves and criminals trying to do the biggest heist of their life. Again, like, the first book was one heist. This one is the second heist. And shit hit the fan. Everyone's getting attacked. Oh, God. We're going to do that for the rest of the night. Oh, God. I look gorgeous. I'm sorry. Can we get a minute for the dress? Can we get a minute for the look? And I want some ass in McDonald's looking this good. Ah. This is like my first, okay, hi, hello. It's been like, it's hi, hello. It's a brand new day. And it's been like weeks since I've talked to the camera regarding reading, but I have been reading. Sorry, I'm gonna fix this. So why am I trying to kill myself here? Everyone chill out. There's no breeze. Anyway, it's been weeks since I talked to the camera, and I have been reading. I finished The Crooked Kingdom, rated at 5 stars. I read another book. It was called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder from Holly Jackson. and that was good. I rated it 4 stars, I believe, and then I just finished Steinbeck's Sweet Thursday, which is the second book in the Canary Row series. I didn't know Canary Row had a first book, which is the town that this was like based in. I finished this and I just rated it 3 stars. I know you're supposed to tell them why before you tell them, but like first Steinbeck, not first Steinbeck book at this age. The first one was Of Mice and Men. His writing itself used a lot of slurs. His characters were complex but also stupid or unintelligent in the way of how they think and how they put their thoughts into actions. But the way he wrote his characters were very nice. There's a lot in here that I really loved. But I couldn't step away from the fact that our female main character our female main character wasn't able to stand on her own for too long. Doc was a person who specialized in marine biology, is drafted into war, and outside of the war, when he comes back, he is going through a crisis. And the town of Canary Row sees him going through that crisis, and they genuinely want to help him out that crisis. His crisis is genuine loneliness. It's a basis in here that every man should get a dame. Every man should get a woman. That's what they said. Every man should have a woman. And because he didn't have a woman, everyone saw him as lost and crazy. He comes back from the war wanting to write this great paper and get published and do all these great things for himself. And everyone's like, oh, he's crazy. He's never gonna write this paper. It's a replacement for a woman that he needs in his life. Every man needs a good woman, which is so untrue. I think he could have wrote the paper and would have been fine. Susie comes into town. Susie gets a job at the brothel in the town, and everyone thinks she's not a good hustler. She's not a good woman to be in that spot. But they also call her illiterate. They also call her. I wonder if Susie's a character in the first book of Canary Row. I don't know. But she just randomly comes to town, has no backstory. She gets a job at the brothel with Fauna, the headmistress there. And everyone thinks she's not good at the job. Everyone thinks that she should be somewhere else. And everyone thinks that she is perfect for Doc. It kind of reminds me of Pretty Woman for sure, but not in the way that he wants her to help him. He wants nothing to do with her, but everyone is trying to make him have something to do with her and her to do with him. And Susie's like, no, she doesn't feel competent enough to be his woman because he is a marine biologist. He doesn't feel like she is enough to be his woman because she is a floozy. She is an illiterate whore, is what he said. They try to set them up. Miss Fauna is also someone who reads reads horoscopes, and she read their horoscopes to say that they are meant to be together. Wrong. But at the end of it, they try to set them up. And by set them up, I mean like walk them into a marriage by way of a masquerade party. And it doesn't work because publicly Doc rejects her, tries to play it off like he didn't. Susie was embarrassed. She leaves that night. She decides to live on her own. She buys a boiler, which I can liken to my van. And she sets up this boiler that is fireproof, rainproof, whatever. She buys it, she settles in there, makes it a home, and she's doing all this stuff for herself. She got a job at the local diner to do this and the third, work for herself, make her own money. I couldn't quite imagine what it would be like for her to be in a boiler, but I liken it to my van again. Doc, on the other hand, still feels very lonely, still can't write his paper, but she's doing very well for herself. And everyone on Canary Row is still very adamant that they should be together. They said that Doc cannot go write their paper because he'll miss out on Susie. Susie can't just be an independent woman. She has to be with Doc. To the point where Doc admits that he loves Susie and goes to her with flowers and candy and says, hey, I want to be with you. And she's like, no. I was so happy for her in that moment. He leaves. One of his friends, not really his friends, ends up saying that, he cannot leave to go write this paper because he also, with writing this paper, he had to go to this beach that's like hours and hours away for their spring tides to do his research for his paper. And And his friend's like, that can't happen. He has to be with Susie. They end up one of the friends, without anyone's say so, ends up breaking his arm, so he can't drive, and he needs help to do this thing he wants to do now. To the point where Susie says, I'll drive with you to this place for spring tides and I'll help you out. And that's how the story ends. And what pisses me off is that it was literally no one's business. It was a town and is that a spider? That's an ant. That's a big old ant. It was everyone's putting their business in where it doesn't belong that made both Susie and Doc not do what they wanted to do. At the end of the day, Doc is able to do what he needs to do and wants to do with the help of Susie. But Susie just got a life that she really liked and was working for herself, meaning like she was working at a diner, but she was like doing it on her own, and she felt so proud of that. But this thing that his friends did to help him out, I feel like changed her trajectory of life as well. We didn't get much time of them together to even see if they fit, which is like fine. I think books like these don't really give, I think books in general never really give an after effect of what the relationship would look like. It gives all like the highlights, or some of the highlights and lowlights, and then we're meant to say that they're going to work it out no matter what. It pissed me off, and that's how it ended. But that's how books end, and it made me think about how, It made me think about how men will hurt themselves as a way to need a woman and for the woman to feel needed for the relationship to work. That is a trap as old as time, and that's what this book gave. So I gave it 3 stars because of how it ended, but I loved how it was written. I love how the description of anything isn't just given to you. It is really like everything is alive. Like, it's not simply that Doc was lonely so he needed a woman. Doc poured himself into this and this, and there was a voice in his head that was helping him but kept screaming lonely, lonely, lonely. And it was more detailed written that a simple sentence of Doc was lonely just couldn't do. It was kind of poetic. I like this writing. It reminded me of Toni Morrison, not comparing them to, I'm just saying it brought me back to that, and I really enjoyed Toni Morrison's prose and how she really brings a story to life and how all her characters are important to the story. They're not just side characters that push the plot along, but they are the plot as well, and I like that a lot about the writing. Sometimes I got a little bit lost in what he was trying to say at some points. It just went over my head. I was like, what was the point of that? But it wasn't, again, just random characters to push the plot along. It was random things that didn't really fit, that I didn't think fit because I couldn't make the connection, which is fine. It lost me sometimes. But I also liked how Doc was written as a person who, did I take a picture of it? I hope I took a picture of it. Please tell me I took a picture of it. Please tell me I took a picture of it. Okay, it was chapter 31, page 216. When people change direction, it is a rare one who does not spend the first half of his journey looking back over his shoulder. And at that one sentence, there are a lot of some of the things that came up, whether it was Susie trying her best to make a new life for herself, Doc trying to do the same thing, even the friends trying to help, but like certain life reflections and how it was written I loved as well. So 3 stars. I have to go back to work, but I'm pretty much through my TBR for April and May. For March, April, it is currently May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. I hope you have a margarita. But I have a list of what I want to read for the upcoming month, which is May and June. So I want to talk about that, but I do have to get back to work. So, see you in a bit. You remember how I was like, oh, I'll be right back after work? You know, like a liar. We are back on our break, and I finished Steinbeck's, I finished Sweet Thursday, like I said, and talked about. which I've been thinking about like a lot. I've been thinking about that book a lot because I really always feel for the women in stories written by men because they have no character. At the end of the day, all Steinbeck did was give us a woman with no background or little background, and all the work she did on herself was still just to get a man. Like, yes, she denied Doc, right, with his like past, and she was like, I'll get a man who's this, this, and this, and this. At the end of the day, she chose Doc because he needed her help. But a man who needs you is not a man who actually wants you. And I know I'm projecting here, right? But at the same time, to be needed is different than being wanted. Needing someone is, well, in the book, it was seen as something noble and like beautiful. But as I've grown up, I don't think being needed is stemming from love. It's stemming from lack. And for me in my house, I feel like to want someone in your life adds value. It doesn't take up a space that is vacant. Therefore, if that person would leave, you would still feel whole. And that's taken a lot of different heartbreaks in my life and also a lot of different coming to myself in my life. And I understand that not everyone feels that way, and I'm really crooked. We're all really crooked right now. I think we're also on the slant, so we're just gonna have to be crooked together. But everyone has gone through their own love path or path in general where there are some feelings of emptiness because of one thing or another, and that is human. So everyone's like life is different. Everyone will see that as a different thing. Like, obviously my opinion is only mine because of the experiences that I've had, and everyone else's is theirs. If someone can fill something, they can also take it away. And that may be coming from my own fear of stuff being taken away. So I feel the responsibility of filling it myself. Therefore, no one can take it away. That could lean to the side of extreme independence, where I don't let anything in. I don't let relationships in because of super independence to the super dependent. And I think in the middle is just knowing yourself and knowing how human you are to want love, to want friendship, to want luxury, to want this, that, or the third. But know that you don't need it, and when it comes, you love it, and when it goes, you don't feel empty. You probably feel sorrow because there is grief and things leaving, but to know that you're still whole itself. And I forget when that book was written, but I also know Steinbeck is a classic writer, or a classic author, and he's a man, and so how they view relationships is from a place of need, and how relationships were viewed was from a place of need. But I can't wrap my head around that because I never want to need somebody. Having them and wanting them adds value, and if they leave, nothing of me is lost, but the experience of having that person is gained. So I keep thinking about that because I really hate how Susie was a person who just needed to be needed, and once Doc's arm heals and he's able to do these things by himself, will he still need her? Will he still see her as some floozy who she used to be, and not this person who he needed to help him do this paper thing? If he could do it on his own, I would have felt better with them having a relationship. Because she was good on her own. She literally said no. It's because his arm was broken. Because some other person decided to break his arm to help him out. Anyway, I'm getting too out of it. I have 30 minutes on break. I have my TBR for this month. I think I can get through these this month. This is a rollover, Love in Color by Bolu Babalola. I had this on my list for last TBR from March into April. I did not finish it or touch it. I literally just finished the other book yesterday. Mythical Tales from Around the World Retold. The book that I started on break before I started talking to one of the teachers in the room with me is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. This feels like it's on the line with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which was on my TBR, and I read it last week. The Good Girl's Guide to Murder is about our main character, Pippa, who does a capstone project about a town murder of Andy Bell and the suicide or the murder-suicide of the person who allegedly murdered her, Sal. I should know his last name. Sal Singh. She knew Sal to be such a good person that she never really believed that he was able to kill someone. So under the guise of a capstone project and how media impacts crime, it was a very, very, very good book. It was fast paced, but also it was light. It was okay. Fast paced and light, meaning there weren't no, that was gory. A lot of the scenes were gory. Am I just? Also, it's raining, so if you hear pitter-patter, if you hear pitter-patter on a tin roof, it's raining. It was fast paced, a little gory, a little much. It was a lot for the students that have been in high school where this happened. Pippa's doing this project 5 years after the event, and so none of the people involved in the event are in high school anymore. Only she is, so it takes them out of the guise of the young adults. But it still happened when they were all young adults. So knowing the background and how everything came to be was crazy, but it was really good. I love the relationship between Pippa and Sal's brother. I forgot his name. Anyway, all I have to say, I think this book is going to be on the same realm. It's about Vera Wong, an auntie who is an old Chinese lady, but she is getting herself mixed in a murder. Just read the back, because Vera Wong is a lonely little old lady, a lady of a certain age who lives above her forgotten tea shop in the middle of San Francisco's Chinatown. Despite living alone, Vera is not needy. Oh no, she likes nothing more than sipping on a good cup of oolong and doing some healthy detective work on the internet about what her Gen Z son is up to. Then one morning, Vera drudges downstairs to find a curious thing, a dead man in the middle of her tea shop. In his outstretched hand is a flash drive. Vera doesn't know what comes over her, but after calling the cops like any good citizen would, she sort of swipes the flash drive from the body and tucks it safely into the pocket of her apron. Why? Because Vera is sure she will do a better job than the police possibly can. Nobody sniffs out wrongdoing quite like a suspicious Chinese mother with time on her hands. Vera knows the killer will be back for the flash drive. All she has to do is watch the increasing number of customers at her shop and figure out which one among them is the killer. What Vera does not expect is to form friendships with her customers and start to care of each and every one of them. As a protective mother hen, will she end up having to give one of her newfound chicks to the police? That sounds great, and it sounds like someone who shouldn't be in police business. Very much like Pippa in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So now it's an auntie doing things she should not be doing. Very excited. So this is like a funny murder mystery type of thing, because I've read a couple pages into it and she is already super, super funny. Super, super funny. Like one line that was in here so far. The author, Jessie Q. Satanto, writes her getting up as if she just has an internal clock. And you can picture it like a scene of someone getting up in the morning that's like picture perfect. She rises up much like a zombie. She turns and puts her feet in the nicely placed slippers that she has put on the side of her bed easily. And you can just like picture it. She has a robe and everything. And she texts her son, like they said, a very, very nosy mother. She texts her son, Tilly, are you awake? It's 4:31 a.m. Very late. When I was your age, I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning to cook breakfast for Agong and Ama. Quale, seize the day, carpe diem, kind regards, mom. But then she also goes on, because she is someone who does have a lot of time on her hand, and she is always on social media. She wants to be up to date with the trending anything, and so she texts her son at some point the day before. She's like, Tilly, I noticed that this girl at Not Chloe Bennett has like 2 of your videos on TikTok. I think this means she likes you. I look at her profile and she pout a lot. I think she will make good wife. She went with her mother for a manicure last week. This means she is a filial daughter. Perhaps you should slip and slide into her DMs. Kind regards, Mama. So if that's how she is with her son, imagine how she is with a murder mystery, and I really cannot wait to read it. So I started reading that today. I'm not sure if I'll continue afterward, because there's some content planning that I want to do in Barnes & Noble, but we're here. So murder mystery, but funny. I think A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was also funny in some of its writing, but very heartbreaking in a lot of it, because it was a like perfectly picturesque white woman, white family who was the victim of this crime, and it was a Indian family that was told that their son was a murderer, and it was him who did it. And so there were a lot of things woven into that plot line that had to do with racial stuff and how some families are seen as victims no matter who they are and what they do, because Miss Andy Bell was in a lot of weird stuff, whereas Sal was like doing great. He had great grades, top of his class, going to Yale, and all of a sudden this picturesque person is now a murderer, whereas this other person, which happened to be white, will always be this picturesque person, but they really weren't. So with that being said, where was I even going with that? So yeah, there was funny stuff in there, but there are also some hard conversations and hard truths in there as well. For our fantasy book, because the fantasy book that I finished for last TBR was The Crooked Kingdom, and I'm going to do a video, not a whole video, but probably like a small short form video on The Six of Crows and The Crooked Kingdom duology. I also want to do a book look, and so I'm going to do that with that duology, but I rated Crooked Kingdom 5 stars, and I like having one fantasy book in the list of books that I want to read. This fantasy book for this TBR is Phantasma. I bought it a while ago, and the line at the front of the book, it says, "The only thing deadlier than losing the game is losing our hearts." No. The only thing deadlier than losing the game is losing your heart. It is a game to, I think, somebody trying to win her sister back. Phantasma only has 2 rules: stay alive and don't fall in love. Bitch, I'm out. And I'm pretty sure I said the same thing when I read this book before. I'm out. Because one thing about me, I'm a fall, not in love, but in limerence. And I don't know if that's the same, that's the way around the rules, but I don't think so. When Ophelia discovers her mother brutally murdered, there is no time to grieve. She has inherited her family's fearsome magic and enormous debt. Circumstances go from dire to deadly. However, when Ophelia's sister decides to pay off the loan by entering in Phantasma, a competition where contestants rarely escape alive, the victor is granted a single wish. The only way for Ophelia to save her sister is to win. But Phantasma is a cursed manor, full of twisting corridors and lavish ballrooms, staffed by enticing demons and fatal temptations, and Ophelia must conquer all 9 floors to succeed if her fears don't overtake her first. But Ophelia's sister decided to pay by entering Phantasma. Does she take her place? Because if her sister is in there, will she be saving herself and her sister, or just herself? Is this like Hunger Games? Or does she go in her sister's place? Like Hunger Games. When a charming, arrogant stranger claims he can help, Ophelia knows better than to trust him. But with her sister's life on the line, Ophelia can't afford to turn him away. She'll just need to ignore the overwhelming dark attraction drawing them closer and closer together. Because in Phantasma, only thing deadlier than losing the game is losing your heart. I have chills. What's a little bit of life-threatening shit with a little love mixed into it? This sounds really great. It does. I keep saying Hunger Games because it's the closest thing that I know to like it's one of the closest things that I know to like a game-esque thing. The other closest one is Powerless. The Powerless trilogy. Okay, so Powerless, which is also another game-based fantasy. This is really interesting. It is one of the fantasies that I wanted to read. Also a book that I only have in the stack of books that I have. In my last TBR video, I said I only want to read books that I have with me right now to get rid of them and make some more space in my van. Anyway, with that being said, all these books are from my own stack, so I'm really happy to read this and let it go. So far, this is a duology, so it says there's a 3rd one, but we don't know. So I'm excited for this one to be on my fantasy list. I'm not going to talk too much about this one because everyone should know about it, but if they don't, it's okay. Pride and Prejudice, another one that I've started but haven't finished. I'm on page 55. I started reading this months ago. I also went to the museum that they held in New York. I'll put the vlog here. It was really cool having a whole museum for Jane Austen and her works and how they come to be. She is an incredible writer. I think she really does put the woman first and creates women with actual depth. So I enjoy that. I love the movie, but I have not read the book. I only read part of it. And so I'm really excited to read Pride and Prejudice in this stack. And lastly, which is a romance. Well, obviously this is romance, but this is also a part of the category of classic reads. like Sweet Thursday by Steinbeck was a classic read. I want this to be one of my classic reads on my list. The next one is just a pure romance, Something Cheeky. I got this when I was in California and did a bookish video there. Link will be here. This is two Asian main characters. So for here, and I liked it too because the female main character is a demisexual, which I claim to be. Which I keep claiming to be. Which it kind of feels like it. When I heard the term of it, I was like, that's how I've been feeling my entire life. So let's read the back, shall we? It's called Something Cheeky, a novel by Thian Kim Lam. A steamy new rom-com from the popular author of Happy Endings and Full Exposure, where two friends get the opportunity to work together on their dream project, a Cinderella rock musical with an all-Asian cast, and discover that falling in love is the easy part. Zoe Chan is living her best life designing plus-size lingerie at her own award-winning clothing boutique, when suddenly her college best friend re-enters her life. Derek Bui is offering a tantalizing chance to recapture a forgotten dream, designing costumes for the musical they created together years ago. Derek has loved Zoe since freshman year, but never had the guts to confess his true feelings. Now, he's directing the Vietnamese Cinderella rock musical they dreamed of in college. The stakes are high. It's the first production with an all-Asian cast and creative team at Washington, D.C.'s largest theater, and if they can make it work, they'll head to Broadway. But his real goal? Get Zoe back in his life. A proud demisexual Zoe only ever saw Derek as her best friend, but working on their dream production together brings them closer than ever. Sparks ignite under the hot spotlights, but when the theater's artistic director pressures Derek to make the musical less Asian, he and Zoe clash on whether to stay true to their vision or compromise to keep the production alive. Will Zoe and Derek finally let love take center stage, or will their creative differences close the curtains on them forever? If you are not new here, this is probably the third time you hear me reading this background, this summary. Thank you for your patience. But if you're not new here, this is first time for you. So I'm excited about this. So we have a romance, we have a classic read and romance, we have fantasy and romance, and then we have a funny little murder mystery, and then we have more romance. That is it for this video. I'm going to chill for a few more minutes and then head back inside. I will be doing a video on how these are and doing ratings, maybe even a short form video, because not everything has to be like a huge 10-minute video. But that is my TBR. That is our bookish weeks, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please subscribe and join us on Wednesdays when we do have What We Reading Wednesday. Also, let me know if any of these reads you have read or want to read. I love you. I am grateful for you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.